In this video, I'll be showing you exactly how I grew to over 4 million followers across my social media platforms, building one of the most kind, brilliant, loyal communities ever that I'm so grateful to have, while at the same time being a Dean's List Biomedical Engineering Bachelor's and Master's student full-time. My name is Junyu. Welcome back to the channel. I really do believe a lot of this information would have been really helpful personally when I first started out and would have prevented a lot of mistakes and trial and error. So that's why I make this video, to give you the guidance that I wish that I had. If you get anything out of this video, which I'm super excited to make sure that you like, make sure you comment and subscribe. And with that all being said, let's get into the rest of the video. Everyone knows they should be consistent, but how do you be consistent? I believe that's really the golden piece of information that unfortunately gets overlooked way too many times, and consequentially, it leaves people growing in frustration. Please let me know if you can resonate with this. You have these individuals that you want to emulate, these extremely successful 0.01% that you believe if you can emulate their behaviors, you can emulate their success. Now, they all seem to have this mantra that goes something like this: consistency is the key to success. And you're starting to think, oh my goodness, there must be something inherently wrong with me, because that's the 100th individual that told me to do that, and I can't get myself to do that. There's something that is blocking me from being consistent. I've tried so hard and I seem to fail each time. There must be another way. I need to figure out a different way to fill that need, when in reality, there is really nothing replacing consistency. But I can assure you that consistency is not some sort of magical phenomena that only a certain people in our society are gifted with. Actually, it's a skill. It's a skill that can be practiced, that unfortunately people don't know how to communicate that practice, but I'm going to teach you how to do that right now. At its fundamental core, consistency is focusing more on systems and less on motivation. If I was to break that down, motivation, inspiration, these are based on emotions. What do we know about emotions? They ebb and flow. Some days you're feeling really good. Some days you're not. Some days you feel like you're going to take the world by your hands. You're going to be able to control everything. And oh my goodness, it's 3 a.m. I'm going to clean my room. I'm going to be the most motivated, most inspired, most successful person I could ever dream of being. This is my reality. And then the next day I can't get myself to wake up on time. Oh my goodness, I am feeling a little bit more tired than I was yesterday. Yeah, maybe we'll hold off on that till tomorrow. That's the reality of emotions. That's life. And if emotions are going to ebb and flow, and you're gonna base the trajectory of your life on emotions, that means you're in for a very rough ride. Let's give a more practical explanation here, a more practical example too, okay? Let's think about the gym. Why are there so many people in the gym from January to March, but there's not as many people in June and July? Are you thinking? Well, in my best guess, from somebody that has been in the gym for the last 7 years of my life, what happens is in the beginning of the year, there's this heightened sense of motivation. People are having these New Year's resolution goals. Everyone in their family all have these same goals, and everyone's trying to be their best selves because it's a new year, it's a new them, etc., right? But what happens by March? Their work gets too busy, or someone in their family gets sick, or they just gotten out of a relationship, or their friends are starting to gossip about them. And it makes it a lot less convenient for them to go to the gym, because also by then the people around them probably have already fell off too, and there's no point in them sticking with it anymore. The motivation fades, the inspiration fades, and because they have no other backing system, they don't go anymore. They don't want to go anymore. So we know that's not the way to go, okay? Because it's those same people that unfortunately will have the same goals each year over and over again, and they were never taught how to develop systems. They were only taught to do it when they're feeling like they should be doing it. They'll have the same goal year over year and not make any real progress. We know the top 0.01% are not like that. How do you become like that? You focus on systems. Systems is so important to have in every endeavor in your life. In this video, I'm going to be focused on academics and content creation, but it applies to everything. So I hope that you can get something out of this, okay? So in engineering, there's actually a concept called the black box. And that means the middle component, the actual system, that's opaque. There's no transparency. And that means that you can't actually see and understand the inner workings of what's going on within the system. All you see are the inputs and the outputs. And if the inputs can actually give you the output that is desirable, then you deem it as a success. Now, this can be very tempting to do as an engineer because it's a lot easier, okay? When you start to see some of these systems, you start to understand there's some really, really smart people out there, because the systems can be very challenging, can be very complex, can be very nuanced, can be having so many layers. And it's a lot easier for you to just have an output that works rather than understanding how that output was produced. Now, the issue with this is as you try to apply that system to new contexts, the results change, the outputs change, because external factors will influence your system and you won't know why, because you don't even know what the system is. You don't even know how the system works. And that grows to be very inefficient and actually very demoralizing as you start to guess and check almost. You're starting to throw in new inputs, you're getting new outputs, rather than just being able to tailor and optimize the system in every situation, every environment possible. If we know anything as a student, if we know anything as a content creator, that's the environment will change no matter what, okay? In education, you will be in new grades in the future, okay? You'll be surrounded by new professors and new peers. In content creation, there will be an algorithm change in the next few weeks, okay? That's the reality. Environments change, external factors change. You need to have a good sense of your system so that can be tailored to be optimal for your situation at hand. It's imperative. So let's focus on the academics. What do I mean by having a good study system? That really does boil down to having an awareness of which techniques you're using, why you're using them, how do you use them, when do you use them? And if you can know that, you're in a pretty darn good situation. Most people just go through their education, especially in secondary school, because they're able to get away with it, just throwing techniques that professors or teachers told them to do, and you're just literally trying them. You don't know how to optimize them. You don't know what you're doing really. You just know that, okay, rereading something 1 trillion times has allowed me to get a good enough grade, so I'm gonna keep on doing that. That's not efficient. Okay, if you do that and you get into more of your intensive studies in college, I'm talking engineering, I'm talking law, I'm talking medicine, etc., that won't fly. You just can't study more and study harder in college and expect to get good grades. You have to be more efficient, and that again boils down to having a good sense of your study system. Now, in your study system, there's a lot of nuances, and I will be happy to make future videos talking about these specific concepts. But I think in general, everyone does need an understanding of the higher level. So we're going to start more theoretical, conceptual, and I hope that this can help, okay? So we all know now, research has shown this over and over again, that you need good encoding and retrieval practices. Now, what do I mean by good encoding and retrieval practices? Well, that means that they are involving reorganizing, synthesizing, grouping, developing relationships, prioritizing, and justifying that knowledge hierarchy. All of those are essential to the encoding and retrieval practices. And if you can complement that with spaced repetition, so you are enhancing long-term retention on top of interleaving concepts so that you are able to view the differences and similarities between concepts separated from one another as you are in close proximity by interleaving, that's very, very helpful. Along with being able to insert breaks, learning is a deep process that involves 2 steps, deep focus and deep rest, right? And if you're able to understand all those layers and components to your study system, you're in a really good spot, okay? And as you grow in your age, you'll be facing a lot more difficult classes, right? You can tailor those components of your system so it matches your needs. If you don't have any awareness of that study system, and as the classes get more difficult, you won't know what to do. That's your study system. Again, those are very much explained in a conceptual way, and I will make more videos because I love talking about this, and it's allowed me to have a lot of success academically. So we'll go over those in a future video. But that system thought process also applies to content creation. There's multiple elements that you can start with to give yourself a good foundational base, but I'm going to talk about something that I don't see many people talk about, and that's what I call your home base. What do I mean by home base? A home base is a layout, is a shot, is a scene, whatever you want to call it, that you know you will get the exact results you are envisioning. If you've done practice with content creation to any extent, you know that you can have a vision for what the video is going to look like. You'll shoot it and you'll go really frustrated because it doesn't look anything like the way that you had envisioned. That's the reality, because lighting will have a factor, sound will have a factor, so many elements that are a lot of your times out of your control when you're first starting because you're not familiar with the technicalities. They will influence your content. But a home base is something that makes sense to the type of content that you're creating, right? And so if you've been following my content for a while, you know my home base is my desk. I'm a student, I'm someone that loves productivity, so it makes sense. The desk makes sense as it's integrated with my lifestyle. And if I can do that, I've made so many videos that I know exactly which lighting I want. I know exactly where to place my phone. I know exactly how I want my desk to be situated so it looks aesthetic on camera, but also functional to the video, so there's enough headspace, etc., to put text. And so it will take me 5 minutes to create a clip if I'm using my desk as my home base. It streamlines a lot of that. And there are so many elements you can start to manipulate to use the same scene, but create a different message, right? There's text, there's different sounds you can utilize. So even if the scene looks the same, the messages can all be different. And that's how you can do a lot more pieces of content in a very quick process. So that's one element of a system that you should be focused on. Number two, having a system around when you're going to film it and when you're going to edit. I personally use batching, and that's what I would recommend to you. Because the reality of the matter is there are a lot of external factors that can hinder your filming and editing, right? So if you have a very busy exam week, it's not likely you're going to be able to find times to sit down and create content each day, nor would you want to, okay? You probably just want to focus on your studies. For me, I've always used Saturday morning, okay? I have always woken up super early on Saturday mornings and batched out a lot of my content for the week during that span. I'm talking about every element of it, right? I'm talking about actually scripting the videos and having a vision for it. I'm talking about filming it. I'm talking about editing it. I'm talking about having different ideas for stories throughout the week, all of that. Actually, when you are focused in a deep work session, you'd be surprised how much you can get done in like a 3-hour bout, right? And that just entails me doing that, of having my planner, etc., and doing all of this. And I've been able to post a video every single day for the last 3.5 years doing just that. It's having a part of my day throughout a week to create content, edit, and I've seen it work for different people in different ways. You might want to batch 3 days worth of content and then do it again middle of the week. You might want to do all of your content in 1 week. I've seen people do an entire month's worth of content within a day. I don't recommend that, because if for some reason that day falls apart for any reason, you're probably losing out on a lot of content. So I wouldn't plan your content that much ahead, especially as trends start to change pretty quickly. But I would batch it ahead of time proactively. And that's really, really important to be able to do. And that's just a second element of your system. And just in general, right there, you start to understand that, okay, if I can have a home base, if I can be able to batch my content, that will help me a lot in terms of being consistent, okay? And there's, again, a lot more nuances that you can start to integrate within your content creation system. But from a holistic standpoint, I hope that gives you a starting place in terms of how to be thinking about this in the first place. And that wraps up the idea of how to view it from a system standpoint and less on a motivation, inspiration standpoint. Another important factor to really consider in terms of being consistent in the long run, I'm not talking again about a few weeks, I'm talking about really for months on end, is having a sense of priorities in your life. Things that are important to you though, not what are important to Sally and Joe and your friend group. No, I mean things that are important to you. I can tell you this for sure, me starting out and doing this in college, knowing that I wanted to set myself up for success upon graduation, knowing that I wanted to have as many opportunities as possible upon graduation, knowing that I wanted to excel academically, excel in my endeavors, hopefully be able to pay off my college tuition, etc. I knew that my priorities were different than a lot of normal college kids, right? And so while I was spending my Saturday mornings waking up early and making sure that my Friday nights were optimizing my Saturday mornings, a lot of my friends were partying and still probably not even back home by the time I woke up on Saturday. And that's okay. That just means that people have different value systems, but those value systems will produce a life further down the road that isn't what you want because it's a different value system. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with you. You're just different people. But you have to understand what's important to you, okay? That certainly doesn't mean you shouldn't have any social life. You should absolutely have a social life, but a social life could be going to the gym and training with people that you love. And that means you're getting the physical benefits of it and you're still being productive in the sense where it's healthy for you and you're still socializing, right? Or that could simply mean people that have also started businesses. You chat with a lot, you learn from them, you get to hang out, you go to dinners, etc., and you start to learn from them. That's a really cool way of doing things. That could mean that you're starting to do content creation and you start to meet up with a lot of other content creators and you're inspired by what they do and you learn from them as well. What I'm trying to say is a social life doesn't just mean you're partying. It doesn't just mean that you're staying up super late at night and doing things that you'll probably regret the next day, okay? Social lives are dependent on your value system and it needs to be clear to you, okay? I really do believe that the people that are the most productive are the ones that have the highest sense of intentionality. They know what they want out of life. They know what they have to sacrifice, but they also know those sacrifices are gonna lead to a life that they want, not a life that's gonna be given to them or handed to them, a life that they will make for themselves because they've put in the work. And it can be fun. Like, I love doing what I do. It's not boring. I get so many people that say, oh, have some fun, loosen up in your life. If you know me in real life, you know that I'm a very goofy person. I love to laugh, I love to smile. And I'm usually with a lot of my friends a lot of the times. But it didn't start out that way because in the beginning, that friend group, I don't have the same friend group in my fourth year that I did in my freshman year. Why? Because those people didn't share the same value system. So what happened was I understood where my priorities lied. I understood that I would be judged for it. I understood that I was made fun of for it, but I understood that I had to remove myself from the negativity, do things alone for a while so I can be the most highest attractive version of myself. And then I became the magnet in which like-minded people came together and grow. And that's the community that I have now. It's people that have come to me and said, hey, I've been working on this and I've seen you do this. And do you want to talk about it? Do you want to grab some lunch? Do you want to grab some coffee? Do you want to talk about it? And now we have this really cool community of people that are so like-minded and help each other and support each other. And that's the real group of people that you want in your life. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have a heightened sense of intentionality, if I didn't have my priorities straight. So stop listening to what other people expect from you and what they want from you. I'm telling you that their words won't matter a few years down the line when you have all this level of success and they're thinking, oh my goodness, let's call June back up and ask him how he's doing. That's happened a lot. And that's because when you're younger, you don't understand that your actions have consequences further down the line. If you're watching this video, hopefully it's something that you can take and apply. Know that whatever you do now will impact you in the future. Having a good sense of priorities doesn't mean that you don't have fun. It means that you do have fun, but you have intention behind what you're doing. You're not just out there just being brainless, right? That's really the second factor. So think about systems, think about having a heightened sense of intentionality, having our priorities straight. And then number three, it is doable in terms of all of it. You don't have to just choose one. I hear this so many times, and it's this idea that because you're young, you should just focus on your studies. If you don't, you'll be distracted and you won't be able to be successful. Hopefully I'm living proof that that's not the case. You're able to do everything that you want. You're able to do really well academically. I mean, be a Dean's List student, like be the best. And then also be the best in your endeavors. Start a business for yourself. If you want to make money, make money. If you want to build your personal brand, build your personal brand. Do it exceptionally well. You can. It's because you're young that you don't have the responsibilities by the time that you're 24, 25 that you will have. That makes it easy for you to do now. You have nothing to lose. Go for it. You have the energy. You're young. Try and get the most clearest of mind and try to be the most fit physically that you've ever been. You can do it. Why not? Why not? Just because it's the standard that at the age of 21, you're supposed to be this slob. You're supposed to be something that doesn't necessarily have their future planned. You're disorganized. You're just a student. You're partying all the time. That doesn't mean that it has to be you. Because by the time you're 23, 24, you're gonna be pushing standards. You're gonna be showing what other people should be like at the age of 23, because they're gonna be looking to you and saying, how did you get there? And you're gonna tell them, I had my priorities straight. You're gonna tell them that I knew what I wanted. I knew that I could do it all, and I did it all because I had the energy to. And I knew that that was going to set me up for success in the future. You can do it all. Don't sacrifice the things that you want to do because people think that you just have to pick one thing and then the rest of your time can be focused on other things that don't necessarily matter to you. Eventually, yeah, you can niche down, okay? So that means maybe I'm doing so well academically and I'm doing so well in terms of content creation. And by the time I graduate, maybe I will have to make a decision. Do I want to go into pharma or do I want to do content creation full time? But I wouldn't have that option if I just chose to niche down in the beginning. I wouldn't have the option of, okay, we have several millions of followers on our platforms and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. But if I was graduating without that platform and telling myself, yeah, I'm just gonna start content creation because I want to. How great of a plan is that? Not such a great plan, okay? Have a good sense that you are mitigating the risk because you were prepared. That's the idea. Do it all so you set yourself up for success, that you have options, and then choose to niche down in the future. But don't think that you have to do it now. Choose it all, do it all, be the best in all, and you got this, and I believe in you more than anything else. I think the fourth most important factor in terms of both academics and both content creation, it's this idea of delayed gratification, okay? In life, we're so obsessed with this idea that we need to have success now, this immediate sense of gratification. And if we don't see it, then we think that it's not working. In the school application, what does this look like? Well, people will start to study certain ways, right? And they'll, again, be obsessed with the outcomes. And if the outcomes aren't there, they are immediately demoralized. And they think, oh my goodness, I have to go completely drastic with the way that I'm changing, or I'm just gonna give up all in its entirety, okay? Which isn't the way that you should be approaching that either. A delayed gratification means that you are putting in the work, but you know that it's gonna pay off in the future. You don't need the outcome to prove to yourself that you're doing the right thing, okay? Focusing on the system, and it goes back to that, being able to have that awareness of your study system, tailoring that as you are trying to optimize it for the certain situation at hand, that's doing something right. That's gonna pay off in the long run, because as your studies get more intensive, you can continue to reside and rely on that rather than trying to reside in this thought process of, I need good grades right now. Does that make sense? Especially as you go into your professions, learning doesn't stop. It just becomes harder. When you get into the pharma industry, well, I'm doing small molecule drug discovery as my internships. Man, was that hard. Was I learning that? And was it so different from what I was learning previously? But I went back to my study system. I went, okay, how can I do proper encoding? How can I do proper retrieval? How can I make sure I'm doing spaced repetition? How can I make sure I'm doing interleaving? How can I make sure that I integrate rest throughout this as well? That's the way that you should be doing it. Same thing with social media. It's not about having 1 million followers tomorrow. Okay, I never thought about that. Actually, for a fact, I purposefully, and this is because I saw so many creators who talked about falling in love with the wrong side of it, which was obsessed with the numbers, obsessed with the metrics. I didn't want to think like that. because my idea was, how can I have an impact on people? How can I show people I love them? How can I show people that I encourage them and that I care about them? That was my goal. And yeah, will a bigger audience allow me to do that for more people? Absolutely, but is that the goal? Is that the way that I was able to get here in the first place? No. And so what I would do is literally never look at my own numbers. I would never look at my homepage. I would never look at my followers. I would never look at my following. I wouldn't never look at the number of posts I have. I wouldn't look at any of that stuff because it didn't matter for me in the beginning. It didn't matter because I was going to do it no matter what. I was going to figure out how to do this, but that meant being consistent. That meant not focusing on just the numbers aspect of it. The numbers will come. You give yourself enough quantity, you will get quality. It's not about just focusing so much on the quality in the beginning because you don't even know what quality is, okay? Even as a student, when you get into the higher intensive studies, you're not gonna even know what quality is if you've never practiced quality studying before. You go into content creation, you're gonna spend 5 days on a video, you don't even know what's gonna do well. You don't know what quality is. Figure out quantity, make as many videos as possible consistently, the quality will come. And that's really what it boils down to. Delayed gratification, understand what's important to you. Again, it goes back to that system. I love that concept. System. How can I optimize that system? And so that I can be more consistent, that quantity will produce quality in the future. It's not about getting the results right now. It's so demoralizing when you focus on that, and you can do better, is what I'm trying to say. So I believe that if you follow just those 4 core elements to how I was able to balance 2 really big endeavors and have success in both of them, I think that it can be very applicable and helpful to you. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're subscribed, and I'll talk to you very soon.